So the capacity crunch is made up of probably two elements coming along together. The first one is the rapid expansion of mobile broadband and the amount of data that the consumers are using on mobile broadband itself. And the second one is the number of customers which are actually using that data in addition. So the capacity crunch comes about in two places and in two ways. First of all, it's only really an issue in areas where you have a lot of users using a lot of data simultaneously. So we see it in inner city areas and particularly at peak hours. But then the locations in terms of worldwide geography, we see it happening in a number of networks simultaneously. So anywhere where mobile broadband has been deployed, has been taken up by a large number of consumers and is being used to its fullest extent, is liable to suffer from some form of capacity crunch. This then has a knock-on effect on backhaul networks where, as you have a large number of customers all demanding data, the pipes which run between base stations and core networks become strained, and so there is a need to not just upgrade the radio network but also upgrade the backhaul network. It actually is a very good problem to have because from a number of years 3G networks have sat relatively idle, and now all of a sudden with the advent of HSPA for GSM operators and with the advent of EVDO for operators on CDMA 2000 technologies, these networks are no longer idle. They are full to capacity in some areas, and as a result they need to be upgraded. But the good side to this is that wherever there is a large amount of capacity, there is always going to be some revenue associated. Yeah, from a device perspective, the capacity crunch comes about not just because of smartphones, and in some cases not because of smartphones at all. HSPA dongles consume, in some cases, between 5 to 10 times the amount of data per month that an iPhone or a smartphone uses. And that's because they are high capacity devices, they are IT oriented. The applications that run on laptops and smaller mids are consumptive of data at a much greater rate because you have full capability to send and receive email. So people send PowerPoint presentations, they send large Word documents, they send photos, they send videos, whereas with an iPhone or a smartphone, everything is a lot more reactive. So people use applications and then move through content on the basis of through clicking and moving from one thing to another, but they don't necessarily download an awful lot of data all at once in the way that you do when you synchronize an inbox on Outlook, for example. So Vittorio Colau from Vodafone in 2009, in his statement at the start of the year, stated that the problem which they have with capacity is mostly generated by dongles, and that's been repeated by a number of other operators in statements that they've made. So while smartphones contribute to the problem, and I think that as smartphones become smarter, they will probably have a greater contribution to the problems around the overall amount of data which is being generated. Right now, dongles, and particularly cheap dongles which are being used in the consumer market, and in which are in some cases beginning to even make erosions into DSL market share, generate an awful lot of data for an awful lot of different causes. The Asian market, Asia Pacific market, has always been a very strong area for mobile broadband growth and mobile growth in general. Right now, the growth area is mobile broadband at the moment. HSPA is adding 5 million connections per month, and the expected growth over the next 3 years across most Asian markets varies between a 7 times multiple on HSPA connections down to around about 2 or 3 times. But that's across a whole range of different markets. We see that kind of growth taking place in China, where we see a 5 times growth in the next 3 years. In Indonesia, where there's a 7 times growth, Malaysia, the Philippines, and pretty much any market you care to choose within the Asia region has still very much a lot of growth happening within the mobile broadband deployments. And I think that's reflected in the fact that the prices for mobile broadband in many of the more developing markets in Asia is reaching a point where consumers can embrace it. Also, the structure of pricing is shifting from a postpaid to a prepaid model, which is more attractive to a mass market deployment, particularly in areas where earnings per capita are lower. So it gives the end user much greater control over the way that they use their mobile broadband service. So within Asia, there's still massive growth happening in mobile broadband, and we seriously expect mobile broadband growth within Asia to continue to multiply over the next 3 years. And then the advent of things like LTE and HSPA+ with greater data rate will only see that increase further.